Hello everyone, it's Patri. I am back. I know it's been a hot second. At least I feel like it has been. December has been quite a bit of a hard month when it comes to everything. I've been going through finals. And now I'm about to start a whole moving process, so I haven't even been able to read that much. Like, I haven't read a single book well, I read like one book in December, which is just super sad, but we'll talk about that some other video. You can't see, but I'm wearing red sweatpants. I'm just kind of in the Christmas spirit. I wanted to sit down and film a bookish video to try and get me in a reading mood. So I'm gonna be talking about the best fantasy books I read in 2020. Okay, this year I've read 55 books, which has been my best reading year ever. I know it's not that much, but I literally usually read like 10, if even maybe. When I was little, I used to read a bunch of books. And then I started growing up and I started getting more into fan fiction. And then after I grew out of that, I kind of had like 2 or 3 years of me just reading, and I loving reading, but it would just be like a book every now and then just because high school, I don't know. And now that I'm older, I just love reading so much. And this year with the pandemic and deciding to start a booktube channel, I've just been able to read so much and it's made me super happy. So yeah, my goal was 50 this year and I already passed it back in like November, at the beginning of November. So I'm pretty proud of myself. And yeah, I've read a lot of like those classic fantasy books that everyone talks about. A lot of them were recommended to me by my boyfriend who read them years ago, and they're still all over booktube. They've been all over booktube. So yeah, a lot of them are pretty popular books, but these are just the fantasies from this year that have really stuck with me, and I'm really looking forward to reading the other books, or I've decided to continue reading the other books. So let's get right to it. The second book I read this year was The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and I became such a huge fan. I really did. I've recommended this to so many people. I gave this to my friend to read. I've gotten people like copies to read, and it's just so good. It's one of my boyfriend's all-time favorites, and he was like, you really need to read this because you like fantasy and like it gets you into reading mood. And it was just so good to read last winter. I cannot believe it's like last winter already because I read this in January. But yeah, I immediately picked up the second one, and if you don't know what The Name of the Wind is about, it's like a innkeeper is telling his story, and so at the beginning of the book, this is the synopsis, so it's not a spoiler, but at the beginning of the book, we kind of meet this innkeeper, and someone comes in to his inn asking about who he used to be. And so we find out that he's gone in hiding, and then we start hearing all these amazing stories from him. So it's all like narrated by him, and he's basically like a hero. That's all we know, but not really a hero because apparently he did something bad, something like that. I am doing such a bad job at explaining this, but it's such a good book. Everyone should read it. This is the kind of book that I recommend to people who don't really read a lot, or who like reading but they don't know what to read and just want to get more into reading. I don't know. It's just a great book to recommend to literally anyone, and it's so good. It's so good. I love the setting. I love the writing. I love the characters. This one, The Name of the Wind, a lot more than the second one, is so funny. It's just so funny. Like, I'd be reading it and laughing out loud, and I really want to reread it next year because it just brings me so much happiness. So yes, this was one of the best fantasy books of 2020 for sure. All of these, but one of them have like a second book, or it's part of a series. So I'm not really gonna include those because it's kind of a given that I really like them. But yeah, I also really did like the companion stories to the books I'll be talking about, but I just wanted to only like talk about the first book. I don't know, I'm not making sense. Okay, the next fantasy series that I read throughout the year and I really liked, fantasy series is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I freaking love this. I've read all 3 of the books. Well, I guess there's the 4th one now because it came out recently, but I read the first 3 of the books all on audiobook, and it was just such an amazing experience. I would definitely recommend this as an audiobook because the voices are really good and it's just so like action packed and there's so much going on, but not to the point where you like can't follow along. It's just so entertaining and so fun. It's really so fun. This follows Laya in this military world, and then we're also following Elias, and he's one of these like military dudes from this military academy, and you can tell he really hates that world, so he wants to escape. But the thing is, no one ever escapes and lives, you know? And then she's a scholar, and the scholars are like suppressed by the military rule. Also, sorry if you hear noises, my sister's in the kitchen and stuff. But yeah, basically she sneaks into this academy undercover as a slave, and she's trying to free her brother because he was captured. I'm so excited to read the 4th book, but I like want to listen to it because I listened to the first 3. So I'm just waiting for an audiobook to become available at some library, or even like I'll get it from Audible or something, but I just don't think it's up yet. I need to check. But yeah, this was super good. This was another 5 out of 5 stars for me. All of these were actually. I'm eating it cold. I kind of think cold pizza is the best. Like maybe not fridge cold, but bin out cold. Okay, now that I'm back from my pizza break, I personally like the other cover more. I think it fits the like essence of the story a little bit better. This makes it seem a little bit more juvenile in my opinion, and it has pretty serious themes and just pretty serious things happening in general. So yeah, cute though. Now this is like one of my favorite fantasies ever now. And yes, it is like a fantasy romance, so I don't know if this fully counts for this video, but I'm counting it. But this is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I freaking loved this so much. I can't even explain like what it's about, just like every other one, but we're following like the chosen one type of thing, and she's kind of like hid from the public. She can't do anything. She's like a maiden, and then she has this guard, and this guard might be more than a guard, if you get what I mean. And yeah, it's kind of enemies to lover, but also friends to lover in a way. Like it changes halfway through. I'm trying not to spoil it, but it's so good. Read this if you haven't. I read the 2nd one right away, and I cannot wait for the 3rd one. It's coming out next year. The next fantasy I read this year that I really liked was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This, I'm sure you've heard of, follows a girl who makes a deal with the devil to live freely, yeah, to be free. But the catch was that no one can remember who she is. And yeah, so she lives forever and no one can remember who she is. And we're kind of just following her story. And there's not a whole lot of like action going on, but I loved it. I loved living in New York and Paris and jumping back and forth. And I think there were like really good descriptions of everything. I was completely immersed in the story, and I really liked this. This is a book that won't be for everyone, but if you think you might like it, pick it up. It was so worth it. It was so beautiful. And yeah, this was greatness. Stop, focus. The next fantasy book that I really liked this year was Jade City by Fonda Lee. This was surprised. This was like a good, surprising one. Obviously, I had heard everyone rave about it, but my perception of it and like what I thought it was gonna be like was completely different from what it was actually like. And at the beginning, I was like, oh wait, this is really different. But I loved it because it was different in a good way. This follows two clans in this Asian-inspired country, and basically these two clans are able to wear jade and get powers from it. So they kind of run their society and they deal with a lot of the politics, a lot of the norms, and it was just so good. A lot of the culture is based around the power of jade, and not everyone can wear it, so that is something that adds to the story. And it was just great. It's urban fantasy. I don't think I had ever read an urban fantasy, and it's an urban fantasy that mixes a lot of traditional themes and like hierarchies and power stuff and like traditional things. I don't know if that makes sense. If you've read it, let me know if you understand what I'm trying to say, because it's like it mixes the real world with like airplanes and stuff, but then there's like the horn of the house who takes care of the more like violent stuff, and then there's the pillar. Like, I just thought that was super cool, and this was a great fantasy series. I loved it. I can't wait to read the second one, Jade War. The last fantasy book I read this year, and probably like a favorite of all time, and like I think it might be my favorite one out of all these. Maybe the name of, I don't know, maybe like The Name of the Wind might beat it. I don't know, but that was The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, and I loved this. It took me like half the year to read it because I kept taking breaks up until like 200 pages, and then during Thanksgiving break I read the next like 800 pages in a week, and it was just so good. I'm currently reading the second one. The next one I read like the first 300 pages in like 2 to 3 days, like 2 days, and then for the last like 2 weeks I've just kind of stopped and read very, very little because the sun's going down. Sorry, I need to wrap this up because finals hit, and yeah, so I need to get to that. But I freaking love this, and this is a multiple point of view story with a bunch of characters. I can't even explain how many, and we're following this big war that's going on between two species, essentially, the Pershendi and the Athlethi. And the Athlethi, or Athlethi, whatever they're called, are humans. And yeah, the Pershendi killed the humans' king. Humans is king. Yeah, the war's been going on for like 6 years, and we're just following a mix of characters whose life will all come together, I'm sure. And yeah, this was great. Again, I did not, whatever, I give up. I did not do a good job at explaining what these books are about, but that's okay because I love them, and I'm sure you've read them. So yeah, here's a little inside look to the best fantasy books of 2020. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a great day. Subscribe, like, comment. See you soon. Peace. Merry Christmas. Also follow all my social medias because I made a TikTok. It was a mistake, but I did it. I just went for it after holding a grudge for like 2 years about TikTok and never getting it. But I gave in, and yeah, go follow it. Yeah. Bye bye.